unmute yourselves if you have questions
Yeah.
for
Do you
Lamont.
have, yeah, do you have any specific questions? So by the way, I'm the head track and field coach at Grambling State University, located in northern Louisiana. When people think of Louisiana, they think of New Orleans. We're about 5.5 hours north of New Orleans. We're actually closer to Dallas, Texas than we are New Orleans. Anybody have any specific questions? Doesn't have to be track related. Everybody shy. Okay. In case you don't know what an HBCU is, it is an HBCU is a historically black college and university. Um, the need came from Reconstruction after the Civil War, Jim Crow. A lot of African Americans were just trying to find their place in society and educate themselves. Um, so they established these places of higher learning. Primarily, a lot of your older ones are going to probably start in the South, and then heavily populated areas in the North, like Howard and Hampton in the D.C., Virginia area, and all along the East Coast. Um, you don't see a lot of HBCUs the further west you go. The main concentration of them are in the South and the East Corridor, from Delaware all the way down to Florida. Um, Great institutions of higher learning. They're not super huge campuses. I know Grambling State, we're probably sitting on roughly about 7,000 as a student population. Um, but it's also a great opportunity to experience a different culture. Um, we don't discriminate. Uh, I would love to have non-African Americans on my team. They're welcome. I don't discriminate. I don't discriminate at all. Um, but I know our soccer team is a very diverse team. Um, we have a tennis team that's pretty diverse as well, and even football has been at least moderately diverse. I would like to diversify a little bit more. But and the issue is access and information. Don't believe all the narratives that you may hear, the negative narratives that you hear about HBCUs. They're great institutions of higher learning. Um, I know my dad, Lamont Vaughn Sr., he's a Morehouse graduate. My father was a senior when Edwin Moses, the great hurdler, was a freshman. My father went to school, high school and college with Samuel L. Jackson, uh, Spike Lee, a great filmmaker. Also went to Morehouse University. Martin Luther King is a Morehouse graduate. So there's been some great people to come through many of these institutions, and there's a place for them. There's a place for them. With the current socioeconomic and even political and religious structure, everybody needs to have a space to feel themselves, to feel appreciated, to feel wanted, and these HBCUs, I believe, do a great job of that. Now, yes, every school has its challenges. There needs to be additional fundings going into HBCUs. There have been promises made by the federal government over course of time that need to be fulfilled. Yes, all those things are true, but they're great environments. Um, all in all, homecomings are entirely different. Um, I coached at the University of Washington for a while. I've coached at UCLA. Homecoming at an HBCU is an entirely different event than it is at the Power Five conferences, or what we traditionally call PWIs, which are predominantly white institutions. I graduated from the University of Kentucky, and Kentucky State, an HBCU, is 20 minutes west of University of Kentucky, and we definitely spent time on that campus, and it was needed. It was needed. I went to college right after the Rodney King trial and during the OJ trial, um, and you know all that racial divide. We felt that it was new, but it was new to us. You know, my father marched with King. My mother marched with King. So that was new to them then, you know. So, but these institutions have produced a lot of different people. I think, you know, even our Vice President Kamala Harris. I think she is a Hampton grad, if I believe. You'll hear say sometimes HU, you know, we've got these different chants and stuff. So they're great institutions. They're great institutions. And the thing I would just tell people is just fine if you're interested, take a look. Even if you're not interested, just take a look. Just take a look. A lot of these institutions are just, I mean, you know, certain people go to certain places for certain reasons. You know, if you want to be a lawyer, you know, people look at Harvard Law. Well, that's just that they specialize in a lot of things, but they're known for Howard Law. You know, so every school has their nuances, and you know, HBCUs are included. Prairie View A&M that is in our conference, the Southwest Athletic Conference. They're known for their agriculture. Uh, so if you're interested in agriculture, check out Prairie View. Grambling State, where I'm at now, the business college is very popular. The nursing school is popular. We're actually
Did we lose him?
as people spend more times on their computers and their phones. So every one of them have something to offer. You just got to find what it is you want to do, and who you want to be. Father, you know, my father went there, so yeah, there was no way I wasn't going to take a look. A lot of my older teammates went to places like Tennessee State. Oprah Winfrey went to Tennessee State, in Nashville. So there's a lot that can be done there. You just got to take a look and go take a look for yourself. Go meet the people that are there. They're fine people at each of these HBCUs. North Carolina A&T, you know, near the Charlotte, North Carolina area. You know, what a couple of years ago, their track and field program was top 5 on the men and the women's side, you know, which is giving them access. The New Balance Nationals was on North Carolina A&T's campus, a major meet, a national level, you know, high school meet on their campus. So, which created an economic impact for not only the Charlotte area but North Carolina A&T as well. So those things are out there. Check them out. Does anybody have any specific questions about HBCUs? Feel free to unmute. Man, this group's quiet, BJ. Small group,
Yeah,
quiet
they
group.
are. It's late. Well, it's not as late as it is for you.
No, I'm fine. 9:30, I'm usually up anyway. So yeah.
What's the typical number of students on average at the HBCUs?
Depends on the area. If you're closer to a metropolitan area, I'm in Houston right now. There are several. Um, there's Prairie View, which is probably about 20 minutes from downtown Houston, where I'm at right now. There's Texas Southern, which is actually right next door to the University of Houston. Um, there's Houston Baptist, Houston Tillerson. Um, that's another one. I think there's 6 HBCUs in just the Houston area alone. Um, yeah. But all you know, we're in northern Louisiana. We're right smack dab between Shreveport, Louisiana, and Monroe, Louisiana. So we're a little bit sparsely populated. So we've probably got a little bit less students than the schools in this area. When you're talking about Howard and Hampton, they're in that DC, northern VA area. Morehouse is shares space with 3 other HBCUs. Spelman College, which is majority women, actually all women's college. Morehouse is an all male college. Clark Atlanta and Morris Brown. We call it the Quad. So they're all right there sharing basically several blocks together. Um, Florida A&M is right next door to Florida State University. Bethune-Cookman is in Daytona. Um, North Carolina A&T is right outside of Charlotte. It just depends on where you are. I'd say if you're in little densely populated areas, you're probably going to have a lot more than you're sparsely populated. I think I want to say Morehouse, and you're talking about that's all men, maybe sitting on about 12,000 men. Spelman usually has probably about 10 to 12,000 women. So between the two, it might be 24,000 students there. We got a question in the chat. How would you suggest we set up visits? Are there times of year that are best fit for making a visit? When you're not talking about athletics, trust me, an HBCU is going to open the doors at any time you want to make a visit. When I'm on campus, I see bus loads every week. All you got to do is contact their admissions office. That's all you have to do. I'm gonna put our guy in the chat. He's actually my fraternity brother. If you're interested in taking a visit to Grambling, all you got to do is email this gentleman, uh, Mr. Ruffin. All you got to do is email Mr. Ruffin and tell him you spoke to Coach Vaughn, and you just, hey, look, I'm a track athlete. I'm not a track athlete. I just want to come see your campus. They will roll out the red carpet for you. A lot of the schools in the South, I know my high school included, they do bus tours. I know my high school is getting ready to go visit 7 HBCUs in the course of a week during spring break. They'll stop at a place a day, and they'll just, they've coordinated those visits, and people on those campuses roll out the reddest of carpets that you can ever see. They will show you everything. Shoot, if I'm just randomly walking on campus and I hear the band playing, I know exactly what's going on. They've got a high school event, and then I'll turn the corner and it might be 3 bus loads of kids just coming. They're constantly inviting you. We have this thing at Grambling called during the football season called High School Day, and they just invite tons of high school students, and you know for a very small fee, it might be $5 or $10. You get a ticket to the football game and sit pretty much doggone right near the band. So yeah, the HBCUs are definitely aggressive in their recruiting. You just got to be available. You just got to be available. But yeah, definitely check it out. Anybody else got another question? That was a great question. We've had a hard time getting HBCUs to visit schools. Whew. So I can tell you this about, I think BJ, you sent that question. Had a hard time getting the admissions reps from HBCUs to visit our schools in your area. Is there anything we can do to increase the likelihood they'll head this way to visit our students? Obviously, applications increasing will help do that. Getting our students in front of reps would be huge. I can tell you this: you email Mr. Ruffin. Actually, Mr. Ruffin's from Los Angeles, so he's going to be. I think he's actually out there now because he's been calling me every this week. Hey, I got somebody I want you to talk to. Got somebody I want you to talk to. So yeah, just I can speak for Grim. You email that man and you say you want to come out there, and you got students that are interested, he'll come out there. He will come out there. I can't speak for everybody else, but he is aggressive in doing it, and he's a Los Angeles native. Um, Also, a good way to reach out is alumni associations. Um, GSU alumni are everywhere. Um, there's a there's a Seattle Grambling State uh, alumni group. There's a Los Angeles one. I've met played people at both. Um, I think there's one in the Bay Area as well. They are everywhere. We kind of we have this slogan where Grambling State, the place where everybody's somebody. Um, and then you'll see if you ever just hashtag Graham fam. Graham fam is a real thing. We were here 2 years ago. No, last year. Our conference championships were at Prairie View, and we had 150 alum come to the meet. And if you ever been to a track meet, 150 people cheering for you, that's a pretty large section. And they brought us water because it was so hot and humid. They brought us water. They bought us a brand new tent. They bought us fans. We got carts. And we had to put this stuff back on the bus, and we made space for it because it was just awesome to see that, hey, look, you guys are here, we're going to take care of you. So yeah, get in contact with alumni associations. In this day and age of Google, it's easy to find. If this is something you know, possibly know, do you know which HBCUs have cheer teams? I know we do. Hampton and Howard, I think, in the DC area, they have cheer programs. And they are starting to get more into competitive cheer. I think Howard has now a gymnastics program as well. And they're starting to compete nationally. Florida A&M, I know, has had competitive cheer at one point. Trying to think of who else has had competitive cheer. Mostly the Division I HBCUs have dabbled in competitive cheer at some point. The Division II ones, you would have to kind of really look them up and see. But most of the Division I programs have done something with competitive cheer. But every last one of them, even if you're not looking for competitive cheer, every last one of them has some type of drill or cheer team. Every last one of them. The cheer and the dance squads, what we call orchestre at Grambling, they are connected with the band. Cheer, dance, band, they are all together. Google some of the battle of the bands for HBCUs. It is an event. It is huge. We have, I don't know if any of you have seen the Bayou Classic that comes on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Excuse me, Saturday after Thanksgiving. The Bayou Classic, I mean, people don't leave at halftime. You're watching the band, you're watching the cheerleaders, you're watching all of that. Sometimes the halftime show can outstage the game. So yeah, cheer is a huge, huge part of the HBCU lifestyle that I've seen. Great question. Any other questions? BJ, did that answer your question as far as the admissions reps?
Yeah,
You
that's
can't.
great. That's great. I'm going to reach out to Mr. Ruffin for sure.
Yeah, he's great. Tell him, yeah, look, just drop my name, man. That's
Okay.
that's my frat brother. You're good.
All right. Yeah, that's great.
And he will make it a point. He'll find a way to get out there. Tennessee State it has been aggressive in their recruiting efforts. They're starting to become a lot more national. North Carolina A&T, because of their track team, has started to do that. Morehouse and Spelman have always done that. Howard and Hampton. Chadwick Boseman went to Hampton, I believe. Trying to think. Like I said, Oprah, Tennessee State. I'm trying to think of everybody. There's so many different people.
What's your take on, and this is a bit off subject, but what's your take
Yeah.
on Deion Sanders' tenure at Jackson State? Good, bad, indifferent?
I thought it was good because it brought attention to the HBCUs. I didn't expect him to stay there long term.
Yeah.
Deion is exactly who he says he is. And there's nothing wrong with that. He brought an economic impact to the city of Jackson. uh, which is 2 hours east of us, right on I-20. He brought an economic impact of whatever city he was playing, his team was playing against, because people came and showed up. They wanted to see him. They wanted to see his sons. So I think there was a lot good come out of it. Now I think there's been debate and discussion of why he left. People leave for all kinds of reasons, but Deion has been exactly who he says he is. From the time he got drafted from Florida State with the Jerry curl and the Mr. T starter kit with the gold chains. Um, you look good, play good, they pay good. He's been that way. What you see of him on social media or the Amazon Prime show, that is exactly who he is. And he grew up around. Deion was born in very South Georgia / North Florida. um, he grew up around the FAMU's, the Morehouses, places like that. So he comes from that type of culture. And yeah, he translated that to, Florida State and beyond, but he's been that type of guy. But you also context is everything. When Deion got to Florida State as a freshman in the mid 80s, integration had just taken a full hold across the country. And integration in its infancy was really still in its infancy when he got there. Deion maybe got to Florida State in '86. The country hadn't fully been integrated more than 10 years at that point. So he's a product of that. My father graduated from Morehouse in 67, 68. Man, what happened in this country in 1968?
Yeah.
We just put a man on the moon at that point. The assassinations of JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Bobby Kennedy. Those are things that my father lived. So yeah, there's still places, and there's still a need for those type of places. But Deion comes from that type of stuff, and we can argue about it all day. But he did what he did, and he did it for the reasons that he did. Everybody tries to figure out why his reasons were, but I stay out of a man's pockets, to be totally honest, because I don't want anybody digging in mine. But he made the decisions for the reasons that he made. But did he leave a positive impact? Yes, I think he did, because I think he showed what the potential could be if we get our stuff together and we take care of business. The trick is sustaining it. That's always the trick. But everybody in this in sports, that it's a copycat. We tried to do it with Hugh Jackson, and you know, uh, say what you will about Hugh Jackson. I respect him as a man. It just didn't work out. For whatever reasons. I'm not privy to what reasons why it didn't work out, but um, I think we tried it a little bit, and it just wasn't the right time, or it wasn't the right fit, or both. Who knows? I don't sit at the table for that. But everybody else has tried it. Tennessee State's tried it with Eddie George. He's their, head football coach at Tennessee State. Everybody tried to make a splash hire at some point. That's no different than what Colorado did bring in Deion. That was a splash hire. But again, he's put butts in seats, which brings money to the university. He's got a buzz. That is probably the highest buzz for a 4-5 win team that I've ever seen in my life. But what is that going to lead them to? They definitely got better recruits because of it, which is going to cause more winning, which is going to put more fans in seats and all of those things. So there's a trickle down effect. Now Colorado has the same challenge that Jackson State had. Can you sustain? Can you elevate and can you sustain? But bringing those exposures to that, I mean, Deion also exposed some of the things that needed to be done at Jackson State, improving the locker rooms, improving facilities, and he got people behind it. So there was a lot of important things that he left behind that are going to reach further than the short time that he was there. And people got to remember, Deion got there right as the isolation portion of the pandemic began to end. There was a spring season that year. He got there, and
Water issue, and it was a
yeah, all of that stuff. And some of that stuff is still being fixed, but he brought attention to that, because if he hadn't said anything, I don't think they would have fixed it. I don't think the powers that be had any motivation to fix it. But if he hadn't said anything and brought that national attention to it, I don't think that stuff gets fixed. I mean, God, I wish somebody would do that for Flint, Michigan, who's still
Mhm.
having water issues after all this time.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things that Deion did that I thought were positive. Um, and he brought exposure to both positive and negative. But
Right.
the negative, I think, are things that are getting fixed.
So
But now we have the money to do it. Go ahead.
we've got an assistant, well, not we, because I'm at Bothell, but the district, and this guy used to be at Bothell, but Woodinville High School has an assistant principal who went to Morehouse,
Mhm.
and he's taken a group of students from the district it sounds like there's a big tour during spring
Mhm.
break through the
Yeah.
HBCUs. And so Xander and Ariella, if you guys are interested in that, I would reach out to Richard Brown at Woodinville High School uh, to be a part of that if you wanted to. It's going to be a pretty cool opportunity for students to do kind of a flash tour of a lot of the HBCUs. I don't think all of them, but they're going to be down in the South there doing
Yeah.
a big loop through all of them. So it's a pretty cool opportunity. And I'm hoping things like that can bring more exposure
Mhm.
and get some of our kids to look that way.
Yeah.
That's my
I
goal, and
mean,
that's Richard's goal for sure as an alumni.
getting getting to Atlanta, you're gonna be literally within feet of three others once you're on one of them's campus.
Exactly.
I mean, just walk down the block, you're gonna hit another one. Turn right, you're gonna hit another one. Turn right again, you're gonna hit another one. So that's great exposure for it. Um,
Yep.
I'll be honest with you. I knew I was going to college when I went to Morehouse's homecoming at 12 years old. I knew I was going. It mattered. It mattered to me to see that exposure to faces that look like mine, uh, doing the type of things that I wanted to do.
Sure.
Now, I had choices, and my athletic ability blessed me with different choices. And my father empowered me to make the best decision for myself. And the best decision for me was to go to Kentucky because my coach reminded me more of my father than anybody else, and I hold my father in very high regard. I just didn't feel the same connection to the Morehouse coaches that I felt to Coach Anderson. But that's the decision that I made. But life comes full circle. Now I'm coaching. I'm the head coach at Grambling State, and I still feel just as strong about HBCUs now than I did then. Um, this is also a way for me, and my father's still living, to respect my father's legacy. Um, so I think sometimes we have in our community that we're too big for something or we big time people or this, that, and the other. I'm never going to do that. And I've coached 28 All Americans. Track is track no matter where you go. So I think, you know, finding the right fit for you is great, but you got to have exposure to know what the right fit is.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
you
what
know,
we're trying to do.
yeah, just expose yourself to it. And now in this day and age, because I didn't have the internet, I couldn't do what we're doing right now when I was in high school. Uh, you got information at the tip of your fingers, but the thing about it, you're only going to get a snapshot of it online, right? Go experience it. Like if
Yep.
you have access to that, if you have means to get there, go feel that energy. Talk to the people that are there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a typical college campus. You're still going to meet people that you don't need to be anywhere near. I don't care if you're at Harvard. I don't care if you're at Florida A&M. I don't care if you're at Grambling. I don't care if you're at Washington. I don't care if you're at UCLA. You're young people, and there are just some people who mature slower than others, faster than others, or not at all.
Right.
And so you got to be mindful of who you share your time and your talent with. I don't care where you go. But just go experience it and see if it's the right one for you. And if that's not the right one for you, then do your research and see if there's another one that might for you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision. And these college decisions, I don't care if you're an athlete or not. These are not 4 year decisions. These are 40, 50 year decisions. And it's one of the first adult decisions you're going to make. So make sure you have the information that you need to make the best informed adult decision that you can. From cost of education to living arrangements to safety numbers, all of those things, majors and famous alums, or people who you can connect yourself with in your chosen degree field. Um, I mean, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. I mean, there's so many different diverse types of HBCUs in not only majors but experiences. And each one of them have their own unique thing.
Yeah.
Um, I know, like, say, the band at Grambling might be totally different than the band at Tuskegee. We have our song that we play, and I know one of the popular ones in Louisiana is the next song. If you never heard it, Google it. And Southern plays it like it's their theme song because unofficially it is. You know, Tuskegee Tuskegee has a song that they play, and it gives me chills when I see it online or watch it. Called Ball and Parlay, and they play it at a certain time, and when that beat drops, they know they start singing it, and then when the music stops, they're singing, and it just echoes, and it's just a glorious experience. So check those type of things out because if you're looking for a college home, you want it to feel like home. So
Yep.
expose yourself to those things and see what fits for you.